All right, welcome to episode 11 of the Property Prescription with Tony and Phil. So today we're going to talk about Brisbane.
I would like to know your future predictions and your magic 8 ball on what is going to happen in Queensland, especially Brisbane.
So if you could move to Sydney or Brisbane right
Sydney.
now, you'd move to Sydney.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm so sorry. I'm going to offend half the country here. I do not like Brisbane. I think Brisbane has the same problem as Melbourne. It's still trying to get out of its country town shell, and yet it's grown very quickly without the proper infrastructure or a good plan, in my opinion. But I still like Brisbane a little bit more than Melbourne because it's a little bit warmer. So
Yeah, it's definitely got the weather. And look, Brisbane's come a long way in terms of gentrifying as a capital city. There's been a lot of infrastructure flow in. You know, there was a lot of interstate migration happening from Melbourne and Sydney. So a lot of during COVID,
yeah, of course.
you saw all that. You saw 40,000 interstate migrants. They'd call them the Mexicans. The Brisbaneites would call the Melbourneites Mexicans moving up across the border, and there was this very strong Sydney, Melbourne,
yeah,
because they had a lot more money to spend on the houses. So they were pushing out the Brisbane owner occupiers. And then the Brisbane owner-occupiers or the locals were moving to Toowoomba. They were moving up to the Sunshine Coast. So there's been a lot of migration, which has been quite an interesting sort of study for us to view. But that has pushed the pricing of housing. The one issue that we saw is that the healthcare system couldn't keep up with the level of interstate migration going into Brisbane and southeast Queensland. The Queensland government had to go on a very large infrastructure program. So they're building 25 hospitals right now, and they're also going through the Olympics. So I get asked this question by our doctors all the time. Phil, what is Brisbane going to do all the way up to the Olympics? And we did this study on the Sydney Olympics as well. Great time to be investing right now. But if I was you, I'd be exiting that particular Brisbane investment before 2032.
Hold on. Back up. You'll be exiting.
Exiting, yes. So if you were buying a Brisbane investment and you're buying a house,
yes.
If you wanted to move there, completely different story. We were investing in Sydney, pre-Olympics, or my mentor was investing in Sydney pre-Olympics. And the capital growth that we were able to generate out of those Sydney terraces and housing markets performed extraordinarily well because the whole state is in this, infrastructure boom. They're spending, construction activities really moving along. And then after the Olympics were done in Sydney, you could see the state was in debt. They had to pay it back. So there was a 3 to 4 year non-existent. There was no capital growth in housing. And there was this really big lull in terms of nothing really happened until then we had the GFC in Sydney in 2008. So that period after the Olympics in Sydney, very little capital growth occurred. So if you're buying an investment in Brisbane, our recommendation would be to exit just before the Olympics. Exit around 2030.
All right, not exiting now.
No,
so
not at all.
Now,
yeah,
exiting.
So we've been buying in Brisbane all the way since 2013 as a business. We've probably got close to over 1,000 properties, good quality housing in Brisbane.
Because I'm looking at Brisbane, and it's pretty much doubled since 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
even at that rate,
yeah,
it's still a buy.
Yeah, so the affordability index it's in line with Melbourne.
Yeah.
Brisbane is more expensive than Melbourne currently right now, and I haven't seen that for a long time. So from a capital value point of view, the biggest trigger mechanism that we look at is rents. What are rents doing? Are people paying more? Are rents growing for units? Are rents growing for houses? And if you start to see continued rental growth, price growth continues to follow. And it's not slowing down in Brisbane. People are still buying. Numbers at inspections are still growing. So it's a great market to be buying in right now. But if you're looking to exit or if you had a strategy in place, I would be exiting before the Olympics.
Because there was all that excitement and infrastructure.
Yeah.
But then once that happens...
we have to pay it back.
Yeah, of course. It's not free.
Which Victoria is currently experiencing that. So we're seeing some of the possible mistakes that Victoria made from an infrastructure rollout program being made in Brisbane. And you'll start to see that occur in 2033, 34, 35.
Okay. So on that topic about rent, and it's just some fairly basic understanding of how the market works. Rent in Perth, I can see it's just continuing.
The rental increases, because we do the property management for our doctors across Australia.
Yeah.
And the rents that we're currently seeing occur in Perth for both townhouses, villas, houses, we're getting 10, 15% rent increases when the tenant moves out. Like it is, and this is happening not just 1 year in a row, but rents have actually increased by 60%. 60% over the last 5 years. And we think rents will increase by 50% in Melbourne over the next 5 years, given the lack of supply. And it's just a lack of stock. So you've got more people coming in that want to buy and want to rent. And our doctors, doctors on great incomes can't even find a rental property.
Yeah, because we have, I go over to Perth for work, and we have doctors, on half
Great
a mil,
incomes.
half a mil to a mil.
Great incomes.
And they can put down any amount of money, really.
Yeah.
But there's literally no stock for them to even look at.
Correct.
Which, I mean, I feel sorry for not the average punter versus the people who are below average. I mean, this is a terrible situation for them. But so from a purely market point of view, so is the rent as it goes up, this is a herald, like a marker for...
Correct.
Okay.
So when you see 4 to 5 years of solid rental growth occur within that capital city or regional across Australia, price growth follows. And generally...
people buy to try and capture that yield.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And then we track about 40 different metrics as a business in terms of our data business. But that is a very, very big signal for us to take a position in that residential market. And we try and get into markets 3-4 years early as a business when we're building out these large portfolios for our doctors. But you start to see the signs. The affordability index starts to come off. Rents start to rise. Average days on market starts to go down. So you know how long it is taking for a Perth house to sell now? I raised this in another podcast.
Yeah, you said it was a few days, wasn't it?
Yeah, 8 days. So
that's like the first viewing.
So literally you will list your property, you'll give it to an agent. Real estate agents over there are having the greatest time of their careers. But from 2008 to 2015, there was no capital growth. And the average days on market got all the way up to 65, 75, 80 days. So it was taking 3 months for you to sell one house. Now, as soon as you list it, it's sold. And it's the same for the rental market. So it's moving through its next cycle. Capital values are moving up, but rents are still growing. So it's the unit market and the villa unit market in Perth. It's probably the best value right now, looking sort of nationally. Darwin's looking great. Melbourne's looking fantastic. From a rental, if you're a tenant right now across Australia, it's not just in Perth. I feel extremely sorry for you right now because it's challenging. 40, 50 different getting applications for the one rental property. If you're a tenant, how can you live in those areas right now? It's tough for them.
If the rent is increasing and the house price is increasing, like let's say Melbourne currently is below Brisbane prices.
It is,
which
the
is
median.
Quite shocking to a lot of people. And I hear that it's Adelaide and Perth are starting to come catching up to Melbourne. So, I mean, historically, Melbourne has been the second city
It has.
in Australia, and now it's about to become the fourth and fifth city in terms
Correct.
of price.
Spot on.
So this is one of the reasons if the rent is starting to come up because there isn't enough houses.
Yeah,
And
correct.
is that a signal for then builders to start building?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're actually buying distressed development sites as a business. We're not doing the development, but we'll end up selling that. So a lot of our high net worth doctors and specialists and surgeons, we're buying distressed sites in Melbourne for $2 to $3, $4 million. We're sitting on them for 2 to 3 years and then waiting. And then we'll just unlock the planning approval on that particular asset and sell it to a developer at a premium. It is a great time to be buying now in Melbourne. And I haven't seen that for capital values are the cheapest that we've seen it since 2018. I haven't seen that for a while. We haven't bought in Melbourne as a business through our Property for Doctors platform because it's been too hard. Yields are terrible, land tax. Investors are tired of paying higher land tax rates. There's also some new government initiatives that they're talking about that they haven't raised, but they are talking about it. charging an annual tax on your home. So rather than charging land tax on your home was land tax free, there was an exemption on that. They are looking to possibly introduce an annual tax on your home,
as opposed to an initial land tax.
Correct.
I heard that was raised in Sydney as well.
Yeah, didn't get through. But there's a number of different sorts of initiatives that the Victorian government are thinking about doing. So look, we'll see where that goes, but I don't possibly think it may go through. So yeah, it'll be an interesting next 12, 24 months.
That's interesting.
Great.
Oh, great. Thank you. That was very interesting.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for joining, and jump on propertyfordoctors.com.au if you want any more information. Tony, thanks again. Fantastic as always, and look forward to the next episode.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.